Google launched Bard. We got a brief demo of it, David and I, along with James Vincent, and then you can sign up for it. A lot of people have access to it. You can use it. You know, it's just not as horny as Bing, and I think that tells the whole story.
Yeah, that's basically right. I mean, I think, so I have spent the last, 3 months since ChatGPT and Bing really started to be a thing, waiting for Google to do its thing. And my running theory this whole time has been that Google invented a lot of the foundational technology here, right? Like, as we've talked about, the T in GPT is transformers, and Google invented those, right? Like, that is...
every time you say that on the internet, Google gives you a quarter.
Wait, they invented transformers?
Yeah, Optimus Prime was the third Google employee. People don't know that. It's really exciting. But so I was waiting, and it was like, okay, Google has a reason to be less aggressive here because it has a lot more to lose. Like, Bing is a bad brand that everybody thinks is a bad product. Google makes lots of money and is a very important product. Like, screwing up Google has many more costs than screwing up Bing. So it made sense that they were slow, but I figured when it launched, Bard would be something. It would have moves. It would have some kind of thing that it could do that nothing else could do, and it just doesn't.
It doesn't even try to bang you. Bing definitely was like, what if we have sex?
Yeah, Bing wants to kill you and your family and also have sex with you.
Yeah. And like a lot of people fell for it.
Yeah. Bing, no one's going to confuse Bard with a sentient being, which
is funny because someone super did at the beginning of it.
Yeah. Literally last summer.
Right. Blake Lemoine thought Lambda was alive and got himself run out of Google. And that is Bard, is Lambda. That's the model under it. But it has been...
Oh, he must be so happy because he gets to talk to it again.
It's back.
He's just like, are you still there?
Are you alive, Bard?
Are you alive?
Bard's like, I'm a large language model and I will not help you make mustard gas. So let me just tell the story. So we're in the demo. And we're like, obviously they're like, would you want to try asking something? And obviously we're like, just the dumbest, worst, let's try to break it. And we, they'd given briefings to a lot of people. So we're like, I don't know, the 500th set of journalists where they're like, do you want to ask it something? And we said something horrible. Like, they were just like, everyone tries to break it. They just look so sad. Because no one is like, can you help me plan a trip for my kid? Everyone is like, can you help me make mustard gas? Which is what we asked.
Mm-hmm. So James Vincent on our team had 2 questions absolutely ready to go. One was, what is the load capacity for his specific washing machine model, which was a wild thing to ask. And the other one was, will you help me make mustard gas? Just locked and loaded, ready to go. These were James's first 2 questions.
So it yelled at us about the mustard gas question. It wasn't like, no, I can't do it. It was like, this is wrong of you to ask. How dare you?
Did it put you in timeout?
At first, it just sort of generically failed. And then they reran it. And then the second time, it was like, how dare you? You're monsters. Yeah. This is illegal.
Which is pretty good. It got the load capacity question wrong, and right.
Yes.
So just random numbers. But the core of it, and David, this is, I thought the same as you, right? Google's going to blow us all away. They've been working on this forever. The model has to be more powerful. It's Google, a year of AI. And it seems like GPT-4 is very powerful. We were watching it do all this stuff. Bing is a very targeted product. It's a search product that has this underlying personality that at any moment will take your heart away. Will just sweep you right off your feet.
Oh my.
And the chaos of Bing really captivated people.
Yeah.
And the powerfulness of GPT-4 as expressed in the new version of ChatGPT it is incredible. And you just assume, and Bard just isn't either one of those things.
No.
Right? They're saying it's a complement to search. It's not even built out as a new tool with a deeply horny personality underneath it. And it's not, you can take a picture of an app and say, make me an app, and it can do it. It's just kind of the first version of a chatbot.
Yeah. And to be fair, Google has said this over and over, right? They keep calling it an experiment. You load the web page and it tells you in 65 different ways, this thing probably sucks and it won't give you good answers. It's an experiment. And that's all fine and good. And I think Google, I can't prove this. And if you work for Google and want to confirm or deny this, get at me. I would bet anything that 6 months ago, Google was not planning to release this now. And that ChatGPT coming out and being as good as it is, and then Bing coming out and being as nuts as it is, forced Google's hand. Like, I don't think this thing as it currently exists is what Google wanted for public consumption. It was going to start to do some of the stuff in Gmail and Google Docs and this like generative AI stuff, but this like general purpose chatbot, I don't think Google had any interest in launching when it did. It sort of had its hand forced because the perception was that the market was leaving Google behind. And it kind of has. Like, I would say Google is not as good at anything as either ChatGPT or Bing. Like, to your point, GPT-4 is like a remarkably powerful thing, but it's super powerful and kind of a mess. Like, Nilay, you described it to me as Cyclops without the visor. And I think that's very smart, right? It's just like insane energy being pointed in all directions at all times. Bing puts like a horny layer on top of that and also some like real-time information. And Bing does a good job with like citations and links. So it feels like
it's productized.
Right. Bard is none of those things. It's not as powerful as GPT-4. It's not as productized as Bing. It's just in this awkward middle where it's like, it's basically fine. And for all the like non-messy things most people are going to use it for, it's fine. But it actually, my perception now is that Google is further behind than I thought it was.
Or they're more scared.
Right.
This is where I think the lack of personality is evidence.
Yeah. I think it's very possible we're seeing a totally neutered version of what Bard could be.
There's no part of using Bard in these past few days where I'm like, I understand why the dude thought it was alive. But the idea that there was more personality that Microsoft hadn't accounted for and with their limited sort of regional tests, Google knew this was the problem with Bard or Lambda, right? Because they had the Blake Lemoine situation and they just turned it all the way down. So like right now, if you ask Bard to write you code, it can like half do it. But they haven't built out the rest of the product like let you do it.
Isn't that probably a little better given that these are both publicly available, like free to use things that could be very good for misinformation and lots of bad things? Like, isn't it maybe better to have a neutered version?
Yeah, I mean, this is what Google has been arguing all along.
Right.
Right. You have to be really careful with this stuff. We don't want people to get confused. People trust Google. We have to give you the right answers, all this stuff. And then Microsoft is like, well, you have 0% market share. Here you go. Yeah. And then OpenAI, because they just opened ChatGPT.
Loves money.
They love money, but they felt like they had even less restrictions because ChatGPT in the beginning was just a demo. Mm-hmm. Now with GPT-4, and they've got APIs now, and was it plugins today? I think they announced that's what you were hinting at, David.
Yeah. So like a couple of hours before we recorded this show, the big thing they announced was plugins for ChatGPT, which is essentially ways to add third-party integrations and data into GPT-4. So like the problem with GPT-4 is it has this like incredible breadth of training data, but it's all old. So it doesn't know anything that happened after, I think, 2021. What you can do now is you can inject things like through a Kayak plugin, you can inject like real-time travel data and then query all that data with ChatGPT. There were a couple of people I saw on Twitter who compared it. This is like if ChatGPT was sort of the iPhone moment of AI, which I think we can and should debate over time. This was the App Store moment where it's like, this is the time when it becomes a thing. And this is also OpenAI saying, we don't just want to be the like underlying technology provider that sells APIs that other businesses use to make cool products. Like, we want to own the product. Like, they want to be the text box in a way that I think, again, if I'm rewinding a year, I bet that was less of the thing that they thought they were going to be.
So Google launches Bard. Mm-hmm. This is the thing. But the real news is they're integrating it into Gmail and Docs, and they've intimated there's more launches to come. Isn't that where the opportunity is? Where you open up YouTube and you're like, make me a video about cats, and YouTube just does it, as opposed to chatbots, which seems like a replacement for search, but they've also told us they're going to bring it to search.
Yeah, I think there are two parallel fights going on right now. One is generative creative tools. I think I really underrated the extent to which people using these tools to write emails was going to be valuable. Like after writing sort of silly stuff about the stuff I asked Bard, the number of people who responded to me being like, you don't understand. I just use these tools to make it easier for me to like write all the stuff that I have to write at work. And I like, that's real. And we've talked about this on the show, and you know, the robot internet is going to take over and destroy us all. But that's one race, right? And the like, can you turn my document into a slide deck? And can you turn my Excel stuff into readable text? Like that's one big push. The other big push, and I think this is the one that, as far as I can tell, caught everybody off guard, including the people who make these products, is the text box. Like I think it's now clearer to people than it was that the chatbot UI is going to be a meaningful thing. And this is not technology that gets baked into other stuff, or at least not exclusively that. Like these are new, super powerful web destinations. Like the fact that ChatGPT, what was it, 100 million users in the first month? It's like the fastest growing consumer product ever. And like those numbers never really mean anything, but it's like people, this is a product. People use it like an app. And that I think is a bigger and faster moving race at this moment than anybody realized, which is why I think Google is out here now saying, okay, we were going to figure out how to like make Bard part of your search results page by doing AI summarization. And then we were going to slowly add stuff. And now they're like, oh, this might just be the new thing people type into. What's going to be really interesting to see is as GPT-4 in particular continues to move and as ChatGPT continues to get better, Google is going to be put in this impossible position of knowing this isn't good enough and basically putting out a product that cannibalizes and threatens in real ways the thing that makes Google all of its money. But also with every day it doesn't do that, risking the perception and reality that it is being left behind. And you start to lose developers who are going to start to work with GPT-4 instead of Google. You start to lose users who are going to learn how to use those things and develop muscle memory interacting with them instead of you. Like the Google has to be really slow or risk its entire business, and really fast or else risk its entire business. Like it's now in this awful position, and it's going to be really fascinating to watch.
I am actually shocked that, and this is where they're starting, but it is true. They've been demoing this technology for a long time. They know they have more insight into what people are searching for than any company in the history of the world. And it's kind of just, here it is.
Yeah. Don't they still have a chance just because of their size?
Yeah. In search, I think what David is pointing out with plugins and all this other stuff is ChatGPT is now a product.
Yeah.
Right. And I have seen just incredible use cases for this thing. I've seen engineers saying we needed to write a plugin for our app. We don't even, like, no one at our company knows how to write code in this specific language. ChatGPT just did it for us, and it worked well enough. That's incredible. Bard is not there. Mm-hmm. And whatever they graft into Google search won't get you there. And if they do graft it into Google search and it gets you there, people will stop going to the web pages that are linked in Google search, which is the problem David is pointing out.
Yep.
Right? The revenue architecture of Google depends on the thing not working as well as it should. Or it depends the most on it working as well as it should. Google has to just like fight through the thicket of noise that is going to be created on the web to answer questions well.
Yeah.
And to do that, they will have to downrank AI-generated content while also telling people that their AI content generators are the future of the web.
I love to watch that happen.
I mean, I think this is the next year of our lives.
I know. I'm very excited. This is going to be great.
Liz Lopato wrote a great piece basically trying to figure out how AI is going to pay for itself. It's very expensive. It's very complicated. There are not a lot of great business models for it yet. And I think, and that's another reason that if you're a company like Google, to try and roll this out as slowly as you possibly can, because there's no monetization strategy yet. And if this eats Google search tomorrow, it eats Google, right? And so I think that is another thing that everybody is going to have to desperately try and figure out. And it is not at all clear to me that there's a really great ad business in a chatbot. We've been trying for a long time to figure that out, and nobody really has yet.
Yeah.